I want to talk about why it's important to master reverse engineering your goals. Why it's important to master reverse engineering your goals, and what is it? Right? And I think that a lot of people probably have never even heard of reverse engineering your goals. Actually, before I do that, I wrote down my list, but I want to reverse engineer. Reverse engineering is a process of analyzing and understanding the design, structure, and functionality of a product or a system by working backwards from its final form. So I want to open this up for you. Open. Actually, yeah, I'm going to share this with you so you can see. All right. Here we've got 3 basic steps of reverse engineering. 1, information extraction. 2, modeling. And 3, review. Information extraction. The original object or design is studied and information about it is extracted. So this is whatever your goal is. All right. So your goal is designed and it needs to be studied, and you need to pull information about how to ultimately get there. All right. Modeling. The information collected is abstracted into a conceptual model. So it's built into a way that is easy for you to then get there. Like, it can't just be, oh, my goal is to make $100,000. You need to design and study that first. That's your goal. You need to create a way to get there. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, by helping out clients. Okay. So that's the information extraction. Modeling is the conceptual model that you're going to do that. Well, how do you help out clients? What does the process look like? How much time does that take? Things like that. All right. And then review. The model is tested in different contexts to determine if it was successfully reverse engineered. So then you take and you go backwards and you figure out, well, if I break it all the way down to this little tiny piece, at that point, can I take that and duplicate it all the way up until I reach my goal? All right. 3 basic steps of reverse engineering. And so the purpose of it is to find out how something actually works and how you can benefit it to whatever it is that your business model, your idea, your structure, or whatever is. But when it comes to your goals, it's a little bit different. Right? Well, it's the same. But we're going to break it down, the pieces and the strategies of which it is important. Obviously, I think that reverse engineering comes into play where you have potential obstacles that stand in your way. And so that way you can understand how to best navigate them, as well as when you're coming from the back all the way forward. So, number 1, first thing that I need to teach you about mastering reverse engineering your goals is, obviously you have to understand your end goal. Obviously, you got to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to be able to master your end goal. I mean, it's like if I pull up my whiteboard, move view is, give me full view. I want full view. There we go. All right. So for instance, we're talking about an end goal. Let's say that my end goal here is $500,000. That's my end goal. Right? And in this case, if I am trying to get here, how do I get there? Well, what reverse engineering tells you is, if you understand your end goal, you understand exactly what that is. So yeah, my goal is $500,000. But truly, how much is that? Let's say that I'm in a business where I profit only about, let's say that I have my own business, my own store, and my store profits $100,000 a year on average from 12 months of work. And in those 12 months, typically we have over 50,000 store visits per year, right? 50,000 store visits per year gets us 100,000. So if my goal is to make $500,000, that means that I need, obviously 100,000 divided by 50,000 is 2, right? So I'm going to divide this by 2, and that gives me 250,000 store visits. So I need to have 250,000 store visits in order to make $500,000. So if I want to do that in not 5 years, if I want to do that in the next 12 months, I now have my end goal. 250,000 store visits in the next 12 months. Now I have that goal. So that's step one. That is step one. Figure out your end goal. Now, this might be my end goal. But step two is you need to identify the steps needed to get there. So how do I get to 250,000 store visits in just 12 months when I'm used to 50,000 in a year? I need to massively increase the amount of store visits I'm getting. All right. So with your end goal firmly in mind, it's time to identify all the steps required to achieve it. All right. So this is where we have to actually map out every action, every task, every prerequisite, everything. Like, we cannot leave anything unturned at all. And we need to start to prioritize our operations, our life, our goals, our priorities, everything with that. And then also understand the challenges that are going to come along with it. All right. So for instance, in this case, store visits, some of the things that I might need to do is increase marketing. And so I'm going to have to figure out, one, how do I need to increase, what ways can I increase marketing? So I could do free coupons, coupon books, or so, or maybe pick a giveaways or something like that, right? And I need to actually pick these out. What things are going to come in a way? I'm going to map out right here. Well, for giveaways, some of the things that might come in a way is that the potential prospects who I'm trying to come in, my prospective market might decrease. And why would it decrease? Is because if I'm just doing giveaways, then a lot of the people that I would ultimately want to come and purchase from my store, those people might end up having less income or less money, cash flow, to be able to come in and actually buy something from the store. Granted, this is only store visits. So typically, on average, not everybody that visits my store is going to buy something, since I'm only talking about store visits. But if my store visits is ultimately 250 and I have more of those people who typically don't buy coming, if typically 20% of people don't buy something, that's going to shoot up if I have these giveaways. That might go up to 30% because of the prospective market from giveaways. So now I understand that. Well, how do I adjust for that? Well, now maybe I'm okay with that. Maybe I just need to shoot this goal up to 275 or whatever the case is. So I need to identify the steps required, identify or increase marketing. Maybe another thing that I should do is also open the store hours a little bit more. All right. So what kind of potential things can that actually have? Right. Step 3 is to actually now reverse engineer your path. So this is where the true power of reverse engineering comes into play at, where you start with your end goal and you're working backwards. So actually mapping out necessary milestones. Now, when it comes to money, and this is something that you guys should understand, when it comes to money or financial goals, for your time frame, if this is your time frame here, and I suck at at drawing straight lines. If this is your time frame from month 1 to month 12, I'm sure a lot of you think, well, straight in the middle, if my financial goal was $500,000, well, by this point in time, I need to make half of that. That's what normal people will say, which is false. One of the things I learned from a great leader of mine who's been in the business of the financial industry, setting massive financial goals, says instead, month 1 to month 12, I really suck at this. Hold on. I'm going to do a much better job for you guys. There we go. Good job, Charming. All right. Instead, when you're halfway there, you only need to get this part to be the first 40% of your goal. First 40% of your goal. And then the last 60, I actually did a pretty good job making that. 60% was on the second half. So first half, second half. First half you do 40%, the second half you do 60%. Why? Why? Is because as you start to build yourself, the momentum from building is going to come into play. And you can even break it down further, right? And this, the first half, 40% of the first half, 60% of the second half of the first half, right? So your quarters, 40, 60, and then again, 40% and 60%. So in this case, my 40% of 500,000 will be 200,000. I'm gonna make this green for money. So $200,000 needs to be made in the first half, and the last 300 needs to be made in the second half of the year. And that's just because the momentum. You're going to start off obviously slower. You're not going to have as many employees because as you continue, as you're opening up your store hours, you're increasing your marketing or whatever your steps are, you're going to need more resources. And as you need more resources, you're going to gather more resources. You're going to have more money and things like that. And so your momentum is going to start to rise the more you get into your business, right? The more you get into your goals. All right. So that's money goals though. What about regular goals? What about the goal of the fact that I want to, instead of thinking of it this way, or maybe I do want to think of it that way, but maybe for the purposes of, my employees, I need to think about it as store visits or that piece. So when it comes to store visits, I've got to make I've got to get 250,000 store visits in the next 12 months. So this is where, you could ultimately try to do the 40, 60% thing as well, which would ultimately help out as well. But instead of thinking of it on a timeline like this is where you want to start to reverse engineer in a different way, where now you say, okay, well, if I need to get 250,000 store visits, how many people need to see my store? So typically, how many people see my store? Well, if out of 5 people seeing my store, 5 views, in any way, shape, or form, whether that's on social media, they walk past the store, whatever, I get 1 visit. It means now I need to have 250 store visits. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. It means I need to now multiply 250 by 5, which brings me to 1.25 million views total. Now, how do I get those 1.25 million views? So now I need to actually break down. Well, if 25, or we'll make it easy. We'll say if 20% of views comes from walkers who walk by, and then the other 80% of views comes from social media, that means now I need to break this down. So I'm going to do 20% over here, 80% over here. And obviously for a lot of different businesses or companies, whatever the case is, these are going to be different. You probably have much more, whatever the case is, right? But literally this is the process of reverse engineering. So 20% of 1.25 million times 0.2, 250. I guess I could have literally come up with that. So 250,000 views needs to come from people walking by. And then the rest of this 1 million views needs to come from social media. And so now I know exactly, well, how do I get this many people to walk by my store? And I can create even more goals and come back up here to, well, if I open store hours, I need to open store hours up to larger groups. Maybe people are walking by more often in the mornings, and I'm not open early enough in the mornings. Right? So you can start to do things like that and change up and realign your goals. social media. It's pretty easy in social media nowadays to be able to just do some marketing, some advertisements, some promotions into your area to get this, and so that can dramatically help. And it's in this example that I just gave is actually pretty great. That most of the visits come from social media views like this, because then you can ultimately just easily go and literally put an advertisement out there to get more views. Right? Now, these might be unrealistic numbers for stores or whatever. I'm not a store business owner or business owner, but this is how you would then go and ultimately reverse engineer your goals. And then let's say this for a whole 12 months. I'm going to divide each of these by over the course of 12 months, or even by the week, divided by 52 weeks. And if I were to do 1 million divided by 52 weeks, that's 19. So we'll go 20,000 people need to see my business on social media per week. And then whatever this is over here, right? And now I can very easily go on, make an advertisement for, we'll say 30 to 40,000 people to view my business per 2-week period on social media. And that right there breaks it down into easy bite-sized ways to get 250,000 visits to my store. And I've got the goals here to track money-wise how much I need to make. And then I've also got the individual goals per week, exactly what I need to do as well. That is the third step and third important piece of why you need to be measuring your goals. Now, from there, it's very simple to just go back and measure and track that progress, because we now have it on there. Did I, in the last month, have 80,000 views of my business on social media? Right. So that's number 4, measuring your progress. And then the other piece of that is also adjusting. As you start to push more out, you start to notice this is a very hefty advertisement cost. Maybe I should reduce this. Maybe I should change this. Maybe instead there's some factor I'm not looking at for getting more views of my business or visits. Right? Maybe there's certain things I can do in the store with each individual customer to make sure that they come like bring other people again or visit the store again. Maybe I didn't account for the fact that there's multiple visitors. Instead, maybe I don't need to have a new visitor every time. Maybe 25% of my business is return visitors. So you can start to see some of that stuff and figure out different ways to adjust as you're measuring your progress. Obviously, a big part of it is that you need to stay motivated through that process, especially if you don't meet some of those goals, because you're massively taking a huge goal, whether it's a huge goal, a small goal, whatever it is, you're taking that goal and breaking it down to the very minuscule. And sometimes there are things you don't account for. So that's step 5. Stay motivated and focused on your goals. If you don't make it, you miss a week, you miss a day, or you miss a financial goal, whatever the case is, just readjust, get right back on the horse. You'll be fine. All right. And so I want to make sure that you guys understand the power of reverse engineering your goals and 5 different steps to make sure that you are doing it effectively as well. Hope that was good. Hope that was good for you. And if it was great for you, please do me a favor, like the podcast, like the recording, like the video, share with your friends on how they should be. If they're a business owner and they're not reverse engineering their goals, or let's say that they don't know how, just have them connect, right? 1, have them watch the video, and 2, connect.